now call to order the regular town board meeting for August 18th, 2020 for the town of Arundecoit. This meeting is not being conducted pursuant to any executive order, Executive Order 202, which is something we haven't been able to say for the past 5 months, so it's good to be back in here. Please join us in rising to recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call. Councilwoman Freeman?
Here.
Councilman Perticone?
Here.
Councilwoman Romeo?
Here.
Councilman Weiner?
Here.
Supervisor Seeley?
Here.
And attorney for the town.
Good evening, everyone. We have a modest agenda tonight. I'll note we have 2 public hearings that will take place starting at 7:35. Those public hearings relate to a proposed local law to amend Chapter 180 relative to standards for connecting to the public sewer. The other is regarding the matter of granting a special permit for 1233 and 1267 East Ridge Road, which is also known as the former Rite Aid at the corner of East Ridge Road in Portland. Those will begin promptly at 7:35. A few remarks, and then we have a brief pomp and circumstance up front, and then we'll get on with our agenda. Councilwoman Freeman and I just came from upstairs. We were participating in a community-wide book discussion on a book called Stamped, which intends to help people better understand the history of racism. It was a very nice initiative set up by the 2 school districts in our public library. Actually, about 300 people read the book, and now, as we speak, are engaging in online book club discussions. So it's a really nice initiative. Very glad we were able to execute it, and kudos to the people who made it happen, but also to so many residents, young and old, really, who are participating right now. It's a neat thing, and hopefully we can replicate it in the future. I just want to note the Arundecoit Library is open. They have been slowly reopening to a more normal business hours. They are open Tuesday to Thursday from 1 to 8. They are still doing pickup outside at every day, and you can call the library to reserve books. Starting this week, they will also be starting walk-ins for computer use, because access to the internet is something that we really have tried to ensure continuity during this COVID outbreak. And that's something that's important to us. So starting this week, residents will be able to be walking in to use the computers. You can check arundecoitlibrary.org for updates, and as well as their presence on social media. I just want to note, school tax collection is upcoming. That's never a fun topic. But starting September 1st, we will begin collecting taxes, as we do every year for the school districts. Because of COVID, we're going to limit in-person tax payment to those who are making their payments via cash only. You can make them online by visiting monroecounty.gov. The county executive is waiving the 3% fee, so generally, if you do it online, you have to pay 3% fee. You don't have to do that this year, so that's a convenience offered. If you do not want to pay online, you can either mail it to the clerk or the receiver of taxes, 1280 Titus Avenue, or you can leave it in the drop box, which is secure and outside of Town Hall. And we're going to try and work through that. We just don't want the huge crowds that we see at Town Hall that we do see during school tax collection. It's a lot of people, probably our busiest time of year here at Town Hall. That's all for announcements. I do want to invite my fellow board members just to join me up front. Do we have any of the handheld mics, or are they all in back? I'll figure it out. Don't worry. Okay. Mask on, everyone. Okay. So tonight, the first part of our meeting is going to be that of transition and change. We're going to be bringing on some new people to a few departments, promoting some people. What necessitates that in one department is we are seeing the departure of a longtime fixture here, not only in Arundecoit Town Hall, but in Arundecoit Town, our community as a whole. We will be appointing tonight a new fire marshal, and as well as a new deputy fire marshal, and that's necessitated because our longtime fire marshal of 26 years, Greg Merrick, has announced his retirement. I never thought I would see the day, but he has announced he's going to go on to a calmer life. And with that, I'll just ask Greg to come up and embarrass him a little bit. So, some of my earliest, fondest memories of town government were of Greg. I didn't even know he was the fire marshal when I first met him. I just knew he was somebody who had this presence of authority at town government, that the uniform should have been a dead giveaway, but I'll just say this. Over the past several years, we've had the luxury of relying on very talented, hardworking, thoughtful, courteous, kind, and educated staff here at Town Hall who help us implement the many important responsibilities of town government. Some of those fly under the radar. Some of those are that which we take for granted because we hope we never have to see the manifestation of their need. Being a fire marshal really encompasses that. Obviously, you have immense responsibility over ensuring that our buildings have adequate fire protection and that which in them are not causing a risk of fire. But there's also immense responsibility as it relates to all the building that's taken place in the town of Arundequoit over the past several years. And Greg is an encyclopedia with that. Greg, as he always says, his intent is to educate, and when you're the smartest man in Arundequoit, you can educate very well. So I'm sure many a business owner and colleague of his has had the benefit of receiving that education. Never a lecture, always an education. And it's not an easy job because in many ways sometimes ensuring that you're complying with the building and fire code, I don't want to say it's an inconvenience, but it sometimes doesn't involve the path of least resistance to getting something built. So Greg has been here for 26 years. He's been a part of this community in many different ways. He's more well known than I am, the supervisor. So I say I ride his coattails often. I just tell people I know Greg Merrick. And we're very sad to see him go, but certainly if anyone has deserved a retirement, it has been Greg. We are here with mixed emotions because we're very happy for you. We're proud of all that you've accomplished, and we are grateful for your service. So on this day, I want to present this to you, Greg. The Arundequoit Town Board hereby recognizes Gregory Merrick for his 26 years of service to town government and his many contributions to improve the Arundequoit community for future generations. Awarded on this day, August 18th, 2020. So everyone, please join me in giving a big round of applause for Fire Marshal Greg Merrick.
Well, thank you very much. I wasn't expecting this. I was here to watch my predecessor, George, be promoted, and Bill Derlin become the deputy fire marshal. So I want to just say that in my my Bible-based faith, it says that when one door closes, another opens. And as my door is closing, you've got two talented people who will be an honor to have filled the position in the office of the fire marshal because they both are gentlemen. That is the key. You can teach an animal to put a ball in a bucket, but you can't teach a character. And you've got two people who have great character and great knowledge, and they both come from two ends of a perspective that you need in the fire marshal's office. George is very educated with fire sprinklers and fire alarms, and then you have the ventilation system on the other side. And they're important because during a fire, you don't want air coming in and feeding the fire. You want that to shut down, but that has to be predicated that the alarm worked properly. And so they're going to be able to work so close together and do such a great job. And after 26 years, I must have loved the job. You don't want to leave it in worse hands than you created it. And I'm not. I'm leaving it in better hands than it is. So thank you very much.
So, just a general rule of thumb, I've done a lot of observing of best practices. If you are talking, this goes to the staff or anyone here for the public hearings, you can take your mask off. I forget that sometimes. That's the general rule of thumb. We're trying to keep distance, so we're confident enough. But if you are talking and want to remove your mask, feel free to do so. I will not do that yet, but I assume I will at some point. So I just love Greg Merrick because in giving his farewell speech, he talks a little about himself, talks about his successors and how great they are, and then gives us a little glimpse into his mind as he talks about the dynamics of fire protection. So there was a learning experience and an emotional journey all in one. So thank you, Greg, for your service. With that, we are not doing public input in person. We did not receive any emails to supervisor@aranacoit.org. In all likelihood, we will not continue in-person public input next month. We will continue to do it online as we are trying to limit attendance here. With that, we can move on to the financial report. Madam Comptroller?
Thank you. The financial results for the town as of July 31st, 2020. Total expenses, actual as well as encumbered, are $21,240,000 of budget, 57.6% of budget, which is slightly below the 58.3% of the year that has elapsed. The breakdown is $18,330,000 for actual expenses and $2,910,000 for encumbrances. Encumbrances are 7.9%. Departments are continuing to commit to services and supplies for the remainder of the year. General fund expenses are favorable to budget at 55.4% or $12,199,000. The split here is actual expenditures, $10,996,000, encumbered expenses, $1,203,000. Contained within the general fund encumbrances are installment debt for equipment leased by Solid Waste, Tree Program, and the Parks Departments, information technology projects and services, attorney fees, and other contracted expenses throughout the town. Also included are the 2020 projected but unexpended energy costs of the general fund street lighting account. Jointly, the highway fund expenses are greater than the percent of the year that has elapsed at 68% or $3,710,000. These costs are typically driven by salt, gas, fuel, roadwork and paving services and materials such as oil and stoning and asphalt, as well as equipment parts. During July, Highway 1 realized sizable roadwork and paving expenditures as well as paving material encumbrances. Expenditures in the library fund are 55.4% of budget at $1,502,000. Included in this amount is a bond payment of $475,000 for principal and interest for the consolidated library. Sewer fund expenses of $2,403,000 equate to 57.3% of budget. Expenses in the stormwater drainage total $762,000, 60.8% of budget. Included in drainage is a $386,000 expense for a Vector truck. The town was awarded a grant of $281,500 to partially offset this expense. We are underscoring again that the expenses excluding encumbrances for the town as well as the three major funds are less than the percent of the year that has elapsed. 58.3% of the year has elapsed, and actual expenditures percentages exclusive of encumbrance for the town is 49.7%. The general fund is 50%. Sewer fund is 54.3%, and the collective highways are 41.7%. Revenue received in the general fund is $14,187,000 or 65.2% of budget. Real estate taxes are $11,185,000. Payments in lieu of taxes, $235,000, are at 91.4% of budget. The first quarter mortgage tax of $249,000 has been received. That is at 30.6% of budget. Mortgage tax for the second and third quarters is expected in December. Second quarter estimates from Monroe County indicate receipts to be approximately $217,000. For the first half of the year would total $466,000 or 57% of budget. 2 months of sales tax of $833,000 have been recorded. Second quarter sales tax estimate of $770,000 will be received in August. This would represent 66% of what the 2019 receipts were for the same quarter. Year-to-date receipts will be $187,000, or 10.45% lower compared to last year. Third quarter receipts are anticipated in November. Other sources of revenue are at 59.2% and include a $222,000 building permit receipt in July. Other major revenue items are expected later in the year include franchise fees, which are generally received in September, and aid and incentives for municipalities is expected in December. Regarding the entire town, $26.9 million or 74.5% of revenue and appropriated fund balance have been received today. Approximately $17.5 million is real estate tax. At the end of July, the library has received $2,587,000 or 95.7% of its budgeted revenue. 81.1% or $4,410,000 is in for highway. Sewer fund has received $4,116,000 and is at 99.6% of that fund's budget. Stormwater drainage receipts total $849,000 and are currently at 101% of budget. This concludes the financial report for the month of July 2020.
Thank you, Madam Comptroller. Any questions, Ms. Marsh? Obviously not encouraging, yet not surprising news on the sales tax front. Good news on the mortgage tax front. I saw Ms. Ivers smiling behind that mask when you mentioned the building permit received because it was sizable. So we are continuing to tighten our belts. That's why you see the gap between year progressed and expenditures, and I thank our department heads for their hard work on that front. So we, on a monthly basis, keep an eye on this, and our goal is to make sure we're still ending the year in the black. I'll accept the motion to accept the financial report.
Moved.
A second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Report is accepted. Madam Clerk.
Approval of minutes, July 14th, 2020, the workshop meeting.
Motion.
Move.
Second.
Second.
Comments, questions, suggestions on grammar style? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are accepted.
July 21st, 2020, the regular town board meeting.
Motion.
Moved.
And a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Perticone. Comments, revisions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are approved. We can move on to item for board action number 3, Madam Clerk, under appointments.
Item number 3, approving the appointment of a fire marshal in the Community Development Department.
Motion.
Moved.
And a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Vinette. Explanation followed by Ms. Ivers.
Sure, thank you, Mr. Supervisor. I don't think this needs any more introduction. We would like to appoint George Nelevaiko as our next fire marshal. George has taken the civil service exam and he scored in the top 3.
Mr. Vinette, can you spell Nelevenko for me? Just kidding.
Thank you.
Carrie, you want to elaborate on that, please?
I have failed that test as well, and I oversee the department. I'm thrilled to offer this resolution or support this resolution to the town board. George has demonstrated a wide range of knowledge, a great background and experience. He's an excellent resource for our community and every aspect of and every person he has to interact with. So it's with great pride and privilege that I support and recommend his appointment.
Thank you. George, I don't know if you know this, but the first year you were here, Greg went out of his way to make sure I knew how good of a worker you were. I think for some reason he thought I didn't think you were doing a good job, so he would find every opportunity just to talk about all the good things you were doing. I think that's because he was a godsend and he helped really the office, an already well-run office, run even better. So I'm very happy you want to stick with us. You're obviously a fixture in the community. You're a beloved member of the community, so I'm very happy to advance and support this resolution. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution is adopted. George, congratulations, Mr. Fire Marshal.
Item number 4, approving the appointment of a school traffic guard in the Arundecoy Police Department.
Motion? Moved. Second? Second. Thank you. This resolution would approve the appointment of, excuse me one second, of Lucinda Scalia as a part-time school traffic guard at the recommendation of Chief Laird. We want to make sure, as school is starting, and there will be kids walking to and from school, we are adequately staffed with our crossing guards. Chief, anything to add on that?
Town resident, very involved in community engagement, community service throughout the years. She comes highly recommended with the community engagement, with background on her. It's a substitute position, and with some of the changes that have occurred in school start times, it's going to be very challenging to make sure we have somebody everywhere, so this is a very vital position.
M4. I don't know if the mic was on. You might want to just. Is it one of the handhelds? Yeah. Sorry. We might have some people leave in a minute. So if you want to, sorry about that. Any questions or comments? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The resolution is adopted.
Item number 5, authorizing the appointment of an alternate member to the Town Zoning Board of Appeals.
Motion. Moved. Second.
Second.
Thank you. This would fill the alternate member of the Zoning Board of Appeals, which we added several years ago to ensure not only that we had a quorum for meetings, but also that we were able to get people in the pipeline to serve as full voting members. The alternate does vote in the instance there is an absence in a particular evening. This would appoint Isaac Elliott to the Zoning Board of Appeals as an alternate for a term to expire December 31st, 2022. Mr. Elliott has been active on several town initiatives, particularly as they relate with our police department. So I'm very happy to advance and support this resolution. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Resolution is adopted.
Item number 6, authorizing the provisional appointment of an assistant fire marshal.
Need to stand up, be recognized.
He's not here.
Okay,
Sorry.
sorry.
No, that's okay. The previous person appointed is not here. Mr. Weiner was just making sure I was not failing to recognize him. The next one is, so I'll recognize him. Thank you, Peter. Madam Clerk. A little rusty.
Item number 6, authorizing the provisional appointment of an assistant fire marshal.
Motion. Moved. In a second?
Second.
Thank you. Mr. Vanette and then Ms. Ivers to elaborate.
Due to our most recent vacancy, there's a need to hire an assistant fire marshal. Director Ivers recommends William Derlin to fill this position. This is a provisional appointment, so he will need to take the next civil service exam for this title and score in the top 3.
Thank you. Ms. Ivers?
Thank you. George Nalivico and I conducted interviews with qualified candidates, and although we were pleased to have 3 qualified candidates interview, Bill stood out as really an exemplary candidate based on his fire service experience, his background in plumbing and HVAC, and building systems is a valuable asset to the work that the Fire Marshal's office does. We feel that he will be a great team member with George and the rest of the community development team, and we're looking forward to having him join the staff as soon as he's available.
Hopefully that's soon.
It is Monday.
Busy time of year for the department. Well, I just want to echo that, and Bill's it's not always a prerequisite necessary to be a member of our fighter community, but Bill is. He's a longtime leader of St. Paul Fire Department as chief, and probably several other positions as well. Very steady hand, but also someone I think who exudes leadership, and certainly your knowledge base is as Carrie said, is impressive both on the mechanical and on the fire protection side. So very happy to support this, and thank you for your interest in serving the town. Any further questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Resolution is adopted. Mr. Derlin, you're required to stand up, wave to your adoring audience. Now, it's a test. You don't have to stay till the end of the meeting, but we won't stop. Yes, you can leave after the appointments are done. If our first group of wave of appointees want to leave, we'll take a brief recess just to let you get the heck out of here. Congratulations, everyone. Greg, don't party too hard. Okay, Madam Clerk.
Item number 7, approving the appointment of police captain in the Arundecoy Police Department.
Motion
Moved.
and a second.
Second.
Thank you. Jason, why don't you give an overview of both, I guess, both of these, and then Chief can just provide some more substance to it, okay?
Sure. So as we fill out the leadership team at the police department, there's a need to hire 2 captains. And we certified the eligible list, and Mark Jeske and Jessica Franco are both reachable on that list. And the police chief recommends Mark Jeske for this first resolution.
Thanks, and I'll just note, there'll be 2 resolutions here. It will be the appointment of 2 captains. That'll represent a change in organizational structure, which I'll let Chief just give a brief overview as to that dynamic, as well as maybe just talking about both of the lieutenants who we're going to appoint. So, take it away, Chief.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. In the history of the Arundecoy Police Department, there has been 2 captains that ended in about 2007. Through some restructuring and with the delegation of newfound responsibilities in the area of police reform, as well as still being able to provide the services that are needed, and looking at models of agencies that are within the Monroe County that are comparable to the Arundecoy Police Department, it was found that there was a need for 2 captains. With that, for Lieutenant Jeske, a brief overview of his career. He's a 14-year veteran of the Arundecoy Police Department with about 20 years of police service total. He's been a supervisor for the last 8 years. In 2000, Lieutenant Jeske was hired by the city of Richmond, Virginia. He moved back here to the Rochester area, took a job with the Rochester Police Department in 2003, then transferred to the Arundecoy Police Department in 2006. He was promoted to the rank of sergeant in 2012, and then lieutenant in 2018. He's been a supervisor on the road patrol for that whole time on all the platoons, and he's highly respected amongst his peers, and he's received numerous awards throughout his career.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from the board on the first resolution? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution is adopted. Lieutenant Jeske is not here. He will be sworn in, I believe, immediately. Congratulations. I'm sure his mother is watching, very proud. And I'll allow Madam Clerk to call up the next resolution.
Item number 8, approving the appointment of police captain in the Arundecoy Police Department.
Motion
Moved.
and a second.
Second.
Thank you. Chief, explanation, please.
Again, just for the need to fill out that second position, as I had previously explained, Lieutenant Franco is a 13-year veteran of the Arundecoy Police Department with about 15 years of service total. She started with the Monroe County Sheriff's Office in 2005, transferred to Canandaigua in 2006, where she worked until 2007, and at that time she transferred to the Arundecoy Police Department. In 2015, Lieutenant Franco was promoted to the rank of sergeant, where she supervised the 1st Platoon, which is the Midnight Watch. She did that until 2017, where she moved into the Criminal Investigations Unit, which oversees all the major crimes and major investigations throughout the Arundecoy Police Department. Because of her work there, she was promoted to the rank of lieutenant in 2019 and stayed in that position. Again, Lieutenant Franco, she's also very highly respected amongst her peers, and she has received numerous awards throughout her career as well. And I will note that both the candidates are watching virtually, so they are watching what's the resolutions.
Thank you, Chief. Any questions or comments from the board? Well, I'll just say, sometimes when you have 2 very qualified people, and at the onset you're thinking you might have to pick between them, sometimes the problem is an opportunity. And I know the issue of the acuity of the captain's position has evolved over the years, especially as it relates to administrative duties and accreditation, most recently police reform, body-worn cameras, transparency. I think we, as a collective board, recognize that opportunity, and I think certainly Chief was supportive of that. The goal of this is not to management. It's to make the department run more efficient and effectively. And how fortunate we are to have two people like this to appoint. Lieutenant Jeske, someone who's lived in town and has said on many occasions his one dream was just to be a Arundecoit police officer, and it took him a few years to get to the department, Richmond, City of Rochester, but that was really his dream. And then you have someone like Lieutenant Franco, who I believe will be the first female captain in Arundecoit and perhaps in Monroe County. Are you, Chief, do you know that, or of any town? I'm just trying to think. I don't want to.
She will currently be the highest ranking female outside of the city of Rochester.
Gotcha.
There was another agency that did have a female captain,
what I
but
thought.
like you said, Supervisor, the first in the history of the town of Arundecoit.
So, today is a symbolic event, and, you don't like to correlate, but this is a day where, Susan B., the 100th anniversary of Susan B. Anthony, and, 100th anniversary of the women's right to vote, President Trump muddled the waters a little bit with his pardon, but it's a symbolic day in the history of our country for women, so I think it's noteworthy that we're doing it on this day. And I'm just very happy to be appointing these two individuals who I'm very fond of. I think we're lucky to have both of them, and I'm sure Chief is very happy to have two captains, two people that he can rely on. And our goal is to make the department a good department, an even better department, and that starts with leadership, and it goes down to the very newest person in the department. So I'm happy to support this second resolution as well, and look forward to working with both of them. Any further questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution is adopted. Madam Clerk.
Item number 9, calling for a public hearing on the matter of granting a special use permit for 1115 East Ridge Road in an M manufacturing district.
Motion.
Moved.
Second.
Second.
Ms. Ivers, explanation, please.
Thank you, Supervisor. This is an application that would accept the application, set the public hearing date for next month, and refer to the planning board for comment on a special use permit associated with the redevelopment of the former Staples building. The project will include the demolition of the existing building and the construction of a plus or minus 5,000 square foot Chick-fil-A restaurant with drive-through facility. It does need a special use permit because in the M manufacturing district, any restaurant needs a special use permit. This one also has outdoor seating and a drive-through facility, both of which also trigger the special use. So that is what's happening with this resolution.
Thank you, Ms. Ivers. And their workshop, we did speak with the applicant to get a preliminary introduction to the project. It's my understanding that this was initially scheduled on the planning board agenda for next week regarding a possible referral, not a referral, but just a...
So this application is also going, this will be a referral for the planning board that'll get added to their agenda, but they're also navigating the site plan review process this month, beginning, they've already had workshop, and next, on Monday, the site plan review will initiate at the planning board as well.
Very good. The public hearing for this is scheduled for 7:35. We do have extensive information from the applicant, particularly as it relates to traffic. And certainly if board members do have questions in the interim, they can direct them to Ms. Ivers, who can get information. But we look forward to our hearing next month and seeing if the project is conducive to a special use permit. Any further questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Resolution is adopted. Madam Clerk, I think it's public hearing time.
It is. Public hearing number 1 on the matter of adopting a local law to amend Chapter 180, Article 4 of the Town Code of Arundecoit relating to the standards for connecting to the public sewer.
Motion. Moved. And a second.
Second.
All those in favor of opening the public hearing, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? This public hearing is now open. Deputy Commissioner McGee, would you please provide an explanation to the board of the proposed law?
Yes, thank you Supervisor Seeley. This public hearing is to discuss the standardization of grinder pumps throughout town. This public hearing was called in response to the impending Bayshore Boulevard Sanitary Sewer Extension Project, which is scheduled to begin construction in 2021. As discussed at last month's digital board meeting, the department is mandated to continue our existing grinder pump loan program in perpetuity to ensure the local waterways are protected against incidental discharges of untreated waste. The DEC requirement came to light during the permitting and design process of the future Bayshore Boulevard Extension project. The resolution calls for the Commissioner of Public Works and/or his or her designee to keep a list of at least 2 different pumps for the standardization.
Thank you. Before we see if any members from the public wish to address the board on the hearing, any questions for Ms. McGee? There are no members of the public here to provide testimony or feedback on this public hearing. I will note that we wanted to have these meetings in person just so people could feel comfortable in a safe way to address the board at public hearings, and we'll continue to do so in a safe manner. So we didn't have any interested residents to comment on this proposed law, and with that, I will take a motion to close the public hearing.
Moved.
And a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The hearing is now closed. Madam Clerk.
Item number 1A, adopting a local law standardizing new grinder pumps for residents to connect to the sanitary sewer.
Motion.
Moved.
And a second.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Romeo. Approximately 32 seconds ago, the town board held a public hearing to review the proposed local law, which would amend Chapter 180, Article 4 of the Town Code pertaining to standards for connections to public sewer. This resolution would adopt the proposed local law. I want to thank Ms. McGee for her foresight, along with Commissioner Kiley, but this is something that'll give the department a good deal of flexibility moving forward and discretion, and I think just allows us to better adapt to the times, but also ensure that the appropriate equipment is there, as it is a song and dance as it relates to sanitary sewer lines. We want to make sure that our connections are aligned adequately. Any questions or comments?
No, I'll just echo Supervisor Seeley's comments. Thank you, Deputy Commissioner McGee. The thoughtfulness behind this is going to save the town money and save residents a lot of headaches. So, thank you.
Yeah. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution is adopted.
Public hearing number 2, on the matter of granting a special use permit for 1233 and 1267 East Ridge Road in an M manufacturing district.
Can I have a motion, please, to open the public hearing?
Moved.
And a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And the hearing is now open. Ms. Ivers, we'll let you just give a brief introduction to the proposed matter before the board, then we'll allow the applicants to come up and speak to it, and then any members of the public who wish to address the board. So why don't you just give us an overview of what the public hearing pertains to?
Okay, great. The application involves the redevelopment of the existing Rite Aid building located at 1233 East Ridge Road, converting it from a single-use tenant to a 3-tenant building with the intent for 2 fast casual restaurants, both of which would require the special use permit. It also involves the demolition of the existing Ridge Rattan at 1267 East Ridge Road, and that would involve the demolition and then construction of a new freestanding, also fast casual development at that location. The plan for the project is to consolidate the 2 parcels into one, and so having multiple buildings, multiple uses on a single parcel is another trigger for the special use permit. This this public hearing was called last month by resolution by this board. The applicant and his engineer here, that's Matt Lester, and Peter Vars from BME Engineering.
Sure, gentlemen, why don't you come up, take your time setting up, there's no rush. Just give identify yourself and your affiliation with the project. And I said at the onset, protocol is if you want to take your mask off while speaking, you can do so. We're accommodated in that regard.
Does that location work okay?
That's fine, yeah, we'll capture it downstairs. One of the many cameras that
Right. So good evening. My name is Peter Vars with BME Associates, appearing tonight on behalf of Ridge Portland LLC, the owners, and Matt Lester is their representative, who's with me also this evening. As Ms. Ivers pointed out, we are here this evening to request the special use permit for two properties. It's located at the southeast corner. Actually, I put this up upside down. Apologize. There we go. Southeast corner of Portland Avenue and East Ridge Road. As described, it's the two parcels. One is at 1233 East Ridge Road, contains the current vacant Rite Aid building, which is an 11,000 square foot building. The property size is about 1.1 acres. To its east is the former Ridge Rattan property at 1267 East Ridge Road. That current building is around 8,300 square feet. The size of that lot is just under 4/10 of an acre. The property is zoned M manufacturing. The proposal is to combine the two properties into one tax account parcel, so it'd be a total of 1.5 acres. The development plan is to refurbish the existing Rite Aid building. We would work within the existing footprint of that building and create a multi-tenant building. Those uses would contain about 5,000 square feet of restaurant space between two tenants, one at the west end or the Portland Avenue end of the building, and the second restaurant tenant being at the east end of the building. The east end of the building currently does have an existing drive-through. That drive-through will remain and possibly used by that restaurant tenant that is occupying the east end of the building. That leaves 6,000 square feet in the interior of the building, and that would be retail space. The Ridge Rattan site, as we mentioned, has about an 8,300 square foot existing building on that property. That building will be demolished, and in its place, a new plus or minus 2,500 square foot standalone restaurant building would be constructed also. So what we're looking at is a proposal of a total of 13,500 square feet in two buildings containing up to 3 restaurants. The retail uses that we've discussed are allowed under the manufacturing zoning per sections 235-36A-13 of the code. However, the restaurants do require the special use permit. They're allowed in the district, but it is via special use permit per sections 235-36.1H. So, why we're here this evening is to request those special use permits for the 3 restaurants. 2 within the former Rite Aid building, and then the new standalone building. And as Ms. Ivers also talked about, is the fact of the multi-buildings on one tax parcel. We did prepare our application and conformance as outlined in section 235-91 of the town code as it pertains to special permits, along with addressing the criteria in 235-92A and 92B. The site development, just to briefly go over that with you, as it relates to the former Rite Aid site, basically what's going to happen there is a refresh of that site. As we mentioned, the existing building is going to stay, but it's going to get a complete redo of the facade, such that to serve the multi-tenants, so there'll be multi-points of entries, it will get updated architectural treatments. This information has been provided to the planning board. It identifies the materials, the colors, and everything there. With regards to site improvements on that site, basically we're going to maintain what the existing parking and traffic flow patterns, but the lighting will be updated to LED, dark sky compliant, efficient lighting. There will be additional landscaping provided, and also off this northwest corner of the building, there will be a defined crosswalk. It will be a colored concrete walk to connect the entryway here, which would be an outdoor patio for that end user, to connect to the intersection at, or like the existing sidewalk system at the intersection of Ridge Road and Portland Avenue. The Ridge Rattan site will get a completely redo. As we mentioned, the existing building will get demolished, and the parking will get redone. Probably one of the biggest changes you'll see out here is going to be with regards to access to the property. We'll maintain the existing access off Portland Avenue, but currently these two properties have a combined 3 curb cuts on East Ridge Road. The Rite Aid has 1 curb cut, the Ridge Rattan property has 2. We're closing 2 of those, such that all that will remain is 1 curb cut on East Ridge Road. So we're gonna go from 3 to 1. There will be, because we're combining the tax parcels, obviously it's shared access, shared parking between the properties. One change that it has occurred since we made this application to this board is last week we did participate, or appear, I should say, before the planning board in their workshop session in preparation for our appearance before them next Monday evening for site plan review. And one of the things they focused on was the location of this standalone building. Because as shown here, we were proposing a 10-foot rear setback. The current Ridge Rattan building is only about 3.5 feet off that rear property line, but they suggested that we move this building forward. And we have done that. It's not a rendering, but it does show in principle that we have pushed this building forward such that we're going to be 40 feet off this rear property line. But more importantly, what happens is it brings this patio area closer to Ridge Road, which I think is very good because it'll encourage the interaction of the customers with the pedestrian way. And there will be a defined sidewalk connection between that patio, that building, and East Ridge Road. So that is one modification we're making in relation to site plan review. But getting back to the special use permit criteria, just a couple things I'd like to point out as I wrap up here. The introduction of the restaurant use onto this property would not be deemed detrimental, in our opinion, to the neighborhood, given the fact that there are other restaurants in the area. There's Rubino's, there's DeBella's, there's Pasta Villa. We're not introducing a new use into the neighborhood by issuing this special use permit, nor do we think it, or nor a foreign use. So if anything, what we think we're doing here is actually continuing a very positive trend that is taking place along this section of East Ridge Road with the redevelopment of some aged properties. What we're doing is we're taking basically 2 properties that are underutilized today. And instead of taking raw land and building new, we're basically doing an adaptive reuse of these properties to basically breathe new life into it, breathe new life into this intersection. With what's happened on the north side, it's basically another anchor to that intersection of investment on behalf of the property owners. We don't believe this property creates any unique hazard. That's one of the criteria within the code. Given the fact the property is already developed and it's intensely developed, in fact, as we mentioned, we actually think we're bringing some positives in the fact we're reducing the curb cuts onto East Ridge Road. We are introducing additional landscaping above and beyond what's there today. We are converting the lighting to LED lighting, and we are focusing on making a strong pedestrian connection between both buildings and the sidewalk system that's in place. The last thing I would just point out is where is the process we're in. We are here this evening for the special use permit. We are scheduled to appear before the planning board next Monday evening for site plan review. We also, this project does require variances from the Zoning Board of Appeals. As I mentioned already, we need a variance, setback variance, because the rear setback in this district is 60 feet. The existing Rite Aid building is at 36 feet. We're proposing this building at 40 feet. As I mentioned earlier, the current Ridge Rattan building is 3.5 feet off that rear property line. So that variance needs to be granted. There is a parking variance required by pure code definition as standalone uses, restaurant, retail. Project would require 102 spaces. This plan proposes 81 spaces, but in talking with the owner, the tenants, they feel very comfortable with those numbers, especially because they see a lot of shared uses between the tenant spaces. And then the last variance we need is for lot coverage. The code allows a maximum lot coverage of 80%. This plan proposes just under 87%, and that's primarily, again, because it's a redevelopment. Currently, the lot coverage on this property is just under 88%. There's a 1% to the good, but we're still over the maximum allowed, but we are going to be requesting that variance also. The planning board did look at this as it relates to the referral for the special use permit back on July 27th. Also, you should have in your file, the county Department of Planning did issue their referral on August 11th. There was nothing really of substance in there. We have actually also gotten information or a review back from the Monroe County Department of Transportation. That's been shared with staff also. Again, no comments of concern there either. And they were provided traffic data and the information on the curb cuts. As it relates to seeker, the State Environmental Quality Review Act, it is an unlisted action under seeker, so we would be looking for the town board also to address seeker as part of their special use permit process. So with that, we could answer any questions you have or wait for any public comment and address those as you see fit also.
You can probably stay up here because we don't have anyone signed up. I will ask though, is anyone in the audience signed up for public to address the board on the public hearing? Hearing none, I will now allow board members. I'll yield my time to the board members with questions. Go ahead, Kimmy.
Just a couple quick clarifications. I like the redesign of the curb cuts. I think it looks like you're moving that curb cut on Eastridge Road farther east, so that you're losing the ones that are closer to the intersection. Is that correct?
That is correct.
That's awesome. I think that's a benefit to everybody.
Right.
I agree. I don't think anything here is an unusual use. I think it is keeping very much in flavor with what's going on. When the Ridge Rattan, when the new build there gets pushed a little closer to Ridge Road, I agree. I think you're encouraging pedestrian traffic, a lot of more visibility. How much parking are you losing by doing that, or is it negligible?
That's a great question. This plan as prepared was 82 spaces. So going to this revision, we lost one additional space to 81. So
Not bad.
we saw it as a good trade-off, a loss of one space to what we feel is really going to be a better site layout.
Agreed. And are you losing any impervious surface? Are you able to gain any green space by that?
We gained 0.1%.
I'll take it. Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you for your candid answer there.
Yes.
So, actually, any other board members with questions? So thank you for removing the curb cuts. If I could invent a time machine and go back to the early 2000s, I would institute a moratorium on big box pharmacies. And
Yeah.
actually, ironically, the impetus for one of our, I think, best community development projects, I-Square, actually was a proposed CVS, which in opposition to that came I-Square. So, sometimes everything happens for a reason. The special use permits necessitate end users relative to a restaurant. Do you envision, I don't know if you have those leased up, or do you envision them being needed to use for any other purposes, retail, or are you pretty set in that model?
We can tell you the lease has been signed for the 2,500 square foot user, which is this, if you can read. Okay. And the end user here, the 3,000 square foot, that lease has been signed also.
This looks like a Rachel's and a Moe's.
Yes. There you go.
Mediterranean and Mexican, okay.
And Matt, you did say, the end user here, that lease has been signed also. So the 3 restaurant leases have been signed.
Very nice.
What's the third one?
They wanted to remain.
Oh, well, it's signed. I figured maybe we were gonna.
It's good to know though, because obviously, we I don't think anything will require us to come back for the special use permits. We're probably going above and beyond permissiveness and allowing that. I don't think if it was retail, we'd have to go back. But I think that's encouraging. So, I'll just say, Matt and Peter, I know these aren't easy to redevelop. I've seen some redevelopments of these empty box pharmacies into something that really isn't very imaginative and really, I would say, low-hanging fruit. This I don't think is that, so I think it'll be a nice facelift to something that a lot of people probably pass by every day. It's one of our busiest intersections and one that's really having a lot of life breathed back into it. So thank you for that. I am excited about this. I hope planning and zoning view it favorably. But as far as the special use permit, I don't have any further questions unless the board members do.
No, as long as the other restaurant's not the New Blue Gardenia.
Fair enough.
I have no idea where that came from, but when you were planning board chair, was that what you'd always say?
The blue gardenia is the reason that we have specially permitted restaurants.
Oh, is that right? I did not know that. Thank you for that history lesson. Okay, with that, you're excused. I will take a motion to close public
Your
hearing.
attorney,
Oh, excuse me. Yes, attorney for the town.
Mr. Supervisor, I think the Director of Community
Oh.
Development just wants to clarify something.
What did
So
I
you
s-
can
what
go
did
ahead
I
and
say
close,
that's
you can
wrong?
continue, no, you're fine, I'm actually gonna correct the applicant, if you, for seeker purposes. So, did you wanna continue with your motion to close the public
When we
hearing?
close public hearing, then I think you're going to talk about seeker in the adopting resolution, correct?
Correct, I wanted just to provide an update on that if I could.
Do you want to do that now, or?
It doesn't have to be part of public hearing, I can
Understood.
just provide the record, to update the record for the board.
Very good. So why don't, I'll take a motion to close public hearing?
Move.
And a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Perticone. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The public hearing is closed. Madam Clerk.
Item number 2A, approving a special use permit for 1233 and 1267 East Ridge Road in an M manufacturing district.
Motion.
Moved.
And a two.
Second.
Thank you. Ms. Ivers, an explanation and
so
clarification, please.
Just a clarification for seeker, the applicant indicated that this is a unlisted action under seeker, and in our review of the type 2 actions, 617.5, section C9 provides for construction or expansion of primary or accessory non-residential structures less than 4,000 square feet. That would encapsulate the new freestanding building being proposed on the site. And then if you go further down on that list of type 2, it is number 18 is reuse of residential or commercial structures or a structure containing mixed residential and commercial uses. So between those two provisions under the Part 2, Type 2 of 617.5 of seeker law, we believe that this is a Type 2 action and requires no further analysis in advance of making a decision.
Yeah. I mean, that's for the better, but she wasn't going to let you get away with that, Peter, huh? Thank you, Carrie. Anything further to add on the adopting resolution? No? Board members? Attorney for the town? You're good? Okay. All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution is adopted. Best of luck to you, gentlemen. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You're not required to stay. You can if you want to, but we're not offended if you leave. Madam Clerk, we can now revert back to item, I believe, number 10 on the agenda.
Yes, you're right. Item number 10, calling for a public hearing on the matter of rezoning a portion of 2590 Culver Road from R1 Residential to C Business District.
Motion
Moved.
and a second.
Second.
Thank you. Ms. Ivers, why don't you just explain the next two resolutions in one, and then I can just reference what's germane to this one.
Sure. So this is the remaining portion of the Wambach property located at 2590 Culver Road. This resolution is for a portion of the property with access from Culver Road to redevelop to an R5 for the purposes of multifamily housing development. This would accept the application, set the public hearing for next month, and refer to the planning board for comment on the rezone required. R1 is would not permit the development of multifamily housing. R5 is the appropriate or the requested zoning change. The other application, also at 2590, and would require subdivision of land to create two new parcels, would involve the rezone from the existing R1 to C Business to allow for the development of a Quickly's gas station with convenience and self-serve car wash facility on site. And that's approximately 2-acre site that would share the same access point from Culver Road. Both projects are separate zoning district requests, both from the current R1.
Thank you, Ms. Ivers. And just a matter for clarification, that the resolution up before the board right now actually is the second one you referenced that proposes the conversion of R1 to C Business District.
Forgive me for
That's
the
okay, that's
going
okay.
out of order, I
No,
apologize.
I asked you to lump them both together, so it's a little unique that we're having same parcel, two separate rezoning applications, but the division of the parcel and subsequent difference in uses necessitate that. So this first resolution will call a public hearing regarding the most westernmost facing portion of the former Wambach property located at 2590 Culver Road, converting as proposed to C Business District for a Quickly's Enterprise, which is a convenience store, gas station, and proposed car wash. Ms. Ivers, in a Business District, I don't know if there was a drive-through proposed with this. Would that require a special use permit as well?
If the drive-through facility was being recommended or proposed, that would also require a special use permit.
Okay. One thing that was made clear, and this is regards to both this and the subsequent resolution, was I think just the board's concern about traffic detail, and that's something that we look forward to obtaining and reviewing. So if you can just reinforce with the applicants that we certainly are interested in the traffic analysis. I think that's probably one of my primary areas of concern.
I do know that both of these projects will be reviewed in great detail by Monroe County DOT, and we have asked that a detailed traffic analysis be provided so that we can fully assess all impacts associated with both developments for seeker purposes. And so my understanding is that that is forthcoming, and we expect that, I believe, next week, and we can make sure, as we get any new information from each of these applicants, we will make sure we forward it to this board.
Thank you. And can you just, if people are watching at home interested in that, interested in this and the next resolution, can you confirm that they will not be on the planning board agenda next week for referral?
No, the referrals are for board action only, so there is no public comment associated, even when they are reviewed by the planning board, but this will not be added to their agenda this month. It will be added to the September agenda.
Understood.
For comment.
As we just kind of look at timeline for this, of a proposed positive rezone, nothing is ever assumed, but just timelining it, we never make a decision on a rezone the same night of the initial hearing, so it'll time out that subsequent to the public hearing, that the planning board would be able to provide that referral or non-referral, correct?
Correct, and also, just as a reminder, for rezonings, we'll be sending out a postcard to property owners within 1,000 feet of this property to alert them of when when this particular application, or both applications, will be before any of the boards, either as a public hearing at this board or as an item for board action at the planning board, so that if people are interested in observing the dialogue, again, they can participate in each of the meetings to the fullest extent possible.
Thank you, and I'm certainly not trying to discourage public attendance. I just want to, I know we did have some people interested in attending that planning board hearing, but we are mindful just of not crowd control, but social distancing, so I don't want people to come and not knowing that their intent, their desire to come, we have removed from the agenda, so that's the impetus for them to come has been removed. Just wanted to clarify that, and we'll continue to answer residents' questions with regards to timing. Sometimes rezonings are complicated with the overlapping of different boards, so we just try and be as transparent as possible. Okay, any questions for Ms. Ivers? And again, this first resolution would call a public hearing to take place at 7:37. So it's the first resolution, but it'd be the second public hearing on the matter. So, and it would be regarding its conversion from R1 to C Business District. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The resolution is adopted.
Item number 11, calling for a public hearing on the matter of rezoning a portion of 2590 Culver Road from R1 residential to R5 residential.
Motion.
Moved.
Second.
Second.
Thank you. Ms. Ivers, explanation of the application.
So as I mentioned briefly in the joint conversation, this is an application for a rezone to allow for the development of a multifamily development being proposed by Providence Housing. The development would require the zoning change to R5, and that's one of the only districts that allows multifamily housing.
Thank you. And Providence, as their statement of intent described that in discussions with local healthcare providers, The providers have indicated or identified workforce retention as an issue that impacts the delivery of high-quality healthcare services. And as such, this intends to target lower to moderate income healthcare workers, not exclusive, but really targeting those members of our local workforce to provide affordable housing for those people. So that's the intent of the project. We review this on through the lens of land use, but certainly that's good to know as regard to the intent and the public objective that the project intends to accomplish. Any questions for Ms. Ivers?
Can I just ask a quick question to
Just
Director
make-
Ivers? So,
Kick you back.
sorry.
That's okay.
So, Carrie, how do you see this fitting into the master plan that we have here in town?
Well, I was going to actually augment what the supervisor just mentioned. When we look at zoning changes or zoning requests, we look at it through the lens, legally, through the lens of our comprehensive master plan. And the comprehensive plan provides a solid foundation to justify the acceptance of of actually both applications. And this one in particular, in multiple places, the master plan calls for the expansion of the types and offerings of residential housing available. It also references the requirement and the need to identify affordable housing as a priority. And so this application is being accepted in large part because it's supported by the comprehensive plan, which provides our foundation for any change or update to our land use and our zoning code and zoning map.
Thank you.
So in other words, if it was a casino, we might not accept it.
Perhaps.
Just-
I
Thank
I
you.
don't want to give anybody any ideas.
No, I just want to thank, good point, Councilwoman Romeo, and that's certainly, it's not our Bible, but we put a lot of thought and study and assessment into developing our comprehensive plan in 2014, so it does serve as a compass for us as we entertain potential rezones. Any further questions? Again, this would set the hearing for 7:36 on September 18th? 15th, excuse me.
15.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The resolution is adopted.
Item number 12, declaring the town board's intent to serve as lead agency regarding state environmental quality review.
Motion.
Moved.
And a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Wayne. Ms. Ivers, explanation.
Thank you. So for the anticipated seeker analysis associated with the Providence housing, because there is state funding associated with this project, we anticipate and we would want to do a coordinated review for the purposes of seeker. So this resolution is declaring the town board's intent to serve as lead agency. That will trigger staff to send out the notifications on behalf of the town board, requesting consent from other involved agencies. In this case, other involved agencies would involve the planning board, which would have a future discretionary decision if this rezoning goes through, the zoning board, which would also have discretionary decision-making if this rezoning were to move forward, and obviously the state as a funding agency. It would be an involved agency. We'll also be circulating to any interested agencies so they're aware of the pending secret analysis. And they'll have an opportunity to provide comment if they see fit.
Thank you, Ms. Ivers. Any questions or comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And the resolution is adopted. Nice work tonight, Ms. Ivers. You had a busy agenda.
Thank you.
I think you have a busy few months upcoming, so get your rest.
Item number 13, authorizing the renewal of an agreement with Harper Danish LLC to perform actuarial analysis of the cost of other non-pension post-employment benefits of town employees as recovered by the Government Accounting Standards Board pronouncement number 75.
Motion.
Moved.
And a second.
Second.
Thank you. Ms. Marsh, first apologize to Madam Clerk for that almost 6-word title to the resolution, but would you please provide an explanation?
Thank you. The town is required to have actuarial valuation of our other post-employment benefits, per GASB pronouncement number 75. Our current contract is with Harper Danish. It will be expiring on August 31st of 2020. The contract does allow for 2 one-year extensions, so we are requesting the first of the 2-year extensions for services with Harper Danish. We are very pleased with the services they are performing. Human Resources works closer with Harper Danish than my office does, but Jason is very happy with the service.
Very good. Any questions or comments? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Resolution is adopted.
Item number 14, authorizing Chief of Police to enter into a memorandum of understanding with Granite.
Motion.
Moved.
Second, Ms. Romeo, thank you. Second from Ms. Freeman? Okay.
Second.
Thank you. And Chief Laird, explanation, please?
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. This MOU would allow the Arundecoy Police Department to maintain the relationship that we have with the Granite Task Force. Granite is the Greater Rochester Area Narcotics Enforcement Team, which is made up of representatives from police agencies across Monroe County, as well as partners in the federal and state levels. This would allow us to utilize the services of Granite, although we don't have a representative currently there. It would allow us to utilize the services for narcotics investigation and narcotics enforcement here in the town. In addition to this, it maintains that great partnership and would provide the opportunity for officers to become involved in the investigation based on staffing, what staffing allows us to do, until we are able to hopefully in the future have an officer permanently assigned to the task force.
Thank you. Any questions or comments?
I just want to thank Chief Laird for this, and I look forward to the future where we have some permanent people connected.
I know Councilwoman Roma is very happy to see this resolution. Yes, good work, Chief, and I'm glad that we're re-upping the relationship with Granite. Good stuff. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Resolution is adopted.
Item number 15, entering into an intermunicipal agreement with the City of Rochester for a new Delta Sonic location.
Motion.
Moved.
In a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Weiner. Chief, explanation, please.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. This MOU would allow the IPD to provide sole police services to the new Delta Sonic that's being constructed on East Ridge Road. The current parcel with the building is completely within the town of Arundecoy, and we do currently provide those police services. With this expansion from Delta Sonic, portions of the property do fall within the city of Rochester. We've had a wonderful relationship with Delta Sonic. We look to continue that great relationship with them, and ultimately by entering into this agreement, it would really simplify any type of police response or investigation that occurs, because with it being in 2 jurisdictions, the city of Rochester as well as the town of Arundecoy, we'd be able to handle everything on the property and provide that service to a long-standing business here in town.
Thank you. Any questions for Chief?
No, I just want to compliment Chief on seeing this and for continuing to cultivate the relationship with that particular Delta Sonic. Is important for us to, particularly our police department, to continue to have good relationships with our business owners, and I really appreciate that.
Agreed, thank you.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution is adopted.
Item number 16, declaring certain items as surplus equipment.
Motion.
Moved.
And a second.
Second.
Thank you. Miss Deputy Commissioner McGee, explanation, please.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. This resolution authorizes the surplus of various equipment as seen on Addenda A, which is attached to this resolution. Several vehicles are being surplused, as well as a variety of older AED devices. One item of note is that we are poised to surplus nearing 10,000 yards of millings, which are the grindings of roadways resurfaced by the department. This is the first time we have surplus such a type of item, so we look forward to see what type of return we get on the online auction.
Me too. Any questions or comments?
I'm just curious, Deputy Commissioner McGee, who do you think will be interested in that material?
You'd be curious that when people are building things, they often like to bring in millings as
You're
a
right.
base.
Good thinking.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution is adopted.
Item number 17, renewing an agreement for the grinding of wood waste.
Motion.
Moved.
Second. Second. Deputy Commissioner McGee, explanation, please.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. This resolution would authorize the renewal of the contract with SM Gallivan LLC, also known as Green Renewables, for the grinding of woody debris services provided to the town. The town opened sealed bids in 2019, and pursuant to the bid, we are able to execute 2 additional one-year terms to the contract. As such, we seek to renew for 2021.
Thanks, and I'll just note it's, the contract is in the amount of $265 per 100 yards of grinding wood waste. Any questions or comments on the resolution? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution is adopted.
Item number 18, authorizing the award of bid for Ready Pump Station improvements.
Motion. Moved. Second.
Second.
I'll give it to Miss Romeo, because she's closer to me. Deputy Commissioner, explanation, please.
As we've talked over the past several months, the town intends to upgrade the Seabreeze and German Village pump stations to increase their resiliency to high water events. These 2 projects are funded at 95 cents to the dollar by the state of New York via the Ready Commission. Sealed bids were publicly opened August 14th, and Dasco Pipeline Corp. Was the responsible low bidder in the amount of $89,544. Labella Associates in the town descoped the apparent low bidder and have found them responsible. And as such, I recommend that the board accept the bid put forth by Dasco Pipeline.
Thank you. Any questions for the commissioner or comments on the resolution? I'll just point out, I'm doing the math on my calculator right now. We are basically going to be able to construct improvements to these pump stations at the expense to the town of approximately $4,477. So this Ready initiative is extremely helpful, as 95% of it is funded by the state, recognizing the need to make our shoreline and infrastructure nearby more resilient. So our thanks to the state in that regard. Very worthwhile investment and taxpayer-friendly, property taxpayer-friendly. Questions or comments? In favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution is adopted.
Item number 19, authorizing the supervisor to enter into a payment in lieu of taxes agreement for Arundequoit Senior Housing Development Fund Corp. And Arundequoit Senior Living LLC.
Motion.
Moved.
And a second?
Second.
Thank you. This would authorize, as the clerk said, a payment in lieu of taxes agreement for Arundequoit Senior Housing Development and Arundequoit Senior Living LLC. This is with regards to 80 residential units being constructed at the Wambach lot that was already approved last year. This is the easternmost portion of the property RMI, but also in doing business as Arundequoit Senior Housing Development Fund Corporation and Arundequoit Senior Living LLC wishes to enter into a payment in lieu of taxes agreement with the town. As customary, the town has a history of providing these payment in lieu of taxes agreements, which I'll just say, often people assume that when you have projects like this, the housing developments like this, that they are tax exempt. This is certainly not. Pilots exist to provide stability for financing. The structure of these deals, which are underwritten largely by low-income tax credits funded by the state, when you're doing your pro forma, there needs to be some predictability to your pro forma. This helps provide that predictability, but it also does generate far more tax revenue. Just on this one portion, will generate more tax revenue to the town and other municipalities than the entire parcel generated historically. So by no means is this a tax exemption. It's just a different way of structuring the tax, how the taxes are paid and projected out. Any questions or comments on that?
No, but thank you for the clarity, Mr. Supervisor.
You're welcome. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Resolution is adopted.
Item number 20, approving the special event license for Yellow Jacket Racing Fleet Feet's Rochester Marathon, full and half, and relay.
Motion?
Moved.
And a second?
Second.
Thanks. As I mentioned at workshop, I did make an inquiry with the city regarding this. They have provided the necessary approvals. I did note that, you know, the social distancing concerns would be more pertinent for the city, as that's where it's staged. they're running through town, they are more spread out. So I have no issue suggesting that this move forward. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The resolution is adopted. I want to thank the board members. It was good to see you again. Our next workshop meeting will take place Tuesday, September 8th, 4 p.m. Next regular town board meeting, Tuesday, September 15th at 7 p.m. We will do our best to make sure there is adequate information and instruction regarding the public hearings. It's going to involve a little bit of cooperation, a little bit of patience for the board. Our goal is to allow as many people to participate while not having a full room, so that will require some cooperation on all ends, but we look forward to those public hearings taking place. I will now take a motion to adjourn,
Moved.
and a second.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The meeting is adjourned.
We hope you enjoyed this presentation of the Irondequoit Town Board on ICAT, Government Access. We hope you enjoyed this presentation of the Irondequoit Town Board on ICAT, Government Access.